Hello students, welcome to our afternoon read aloud. So yesterday I introduced you to a new American folk hero. Remember, a folk hero is a person who may or may not have existed, who was well liked and did good work. Existed means maybe they were really alive or maybe they never were alive, right? Maybe they were just made up from people's imagination. And yesterday we also talked about how a tale is a story that has details of real and imaginary events, right? And in the Brain Pop video we watched, it talked about tall tales, and that's what we're going to start to enjoy. Tall tales about American folk heroes. And so yesterday we were introduced to Paul Bunyan, and today I have another tall tale for you with Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. Oh, so I am remembering from the other story about his companion, his friend, the blue ox. And right on the cover, I think this must be Paul Bunyan, and I see an ox. Oh, there's more to the title. It says, The Great Pancake Adventure. Okay, oh yeah, I see they've got some pancakes on forks. Can you see that close up there? And on the back, oh, there's a funny question. Do you have pancakes? And there they are eating pancakes. Oh, and they have funny hats on. Oh, look, his hat has a fork and knife. Wow, and isn't this fun? The letters, I have to stop and think and notice. These letters have little action signs all over the place. And Bunyan is written in wood, like in logs. Wow, so there's so many interesting details in the illustrations already. Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox, The Great Pancake Adventure by Matt Luckhurst. Okay, so here I see Paul Bunyan, here I see Babe the Blue Ox. This is the story of a man and his ox. The man's name was Paul Bunyan. He was taller than the trees and larger than life, and he forever changed the American landscape. People remember him and his best friend, Babe the Blue Ox, as the greatest lumberjacks to ever work in the forests. What folks usually do not remember is how that came to be. Paul was a very big boy, born in a very small town on the banks of the St. Lawrence River. Oh, so here's the illustration showing a river, and there's Paul. He's really big compared to the town, and so is Babe. At school, Paul had to squish his way into the classroom. Oh, and there's a little speech bubble. My ox ate my homework. He was not a very good student. He was far more interested in studying his favorite thing to eat, Mom's pancakes. Math, Paul said, is just not very tasty. Wow, I think Senora Santiago would disagree with that. The countryside grew every kind of vegetable and fruit, but Paul and Babe wanted pancakes. Paul's mom sat them down for a talk. You have to start eating the food we grow. You are going to get sick if all you eat is pancakes. There are so many cool details here. So here, look, the words vegetable and fruit are made kind of green and colored, and they have some bites out of them. And here are the fields. And here the word grow, it's like it's growing, like it's blooming with the colors. And there's the mom talking to them, telling them they got to eat some fruits and vegetables, right? She gave them each some broccoli, but when Paul and Babe tried it, they spat it right out. These green things are for the rabbits. What big guys like us need are pancakes, said Paul. So Paul's mom cooked pancakes all day and night, and her son and Babe greedily gobbled up each and every delicious one. Being a growing boy and ox, they could eat a lot. I just cannot keep feeding you and Babe all these pancakes, Mom said, panting. I have fields to tend. Right? She's a farmer. She's got to work in the fields too, not just make pancakes. Paul and Babe tried to help Mom by working in the vegetable fields, but their big feet just squished and squashed everything in sight. Oh no, they're wrecking all the stuff in the fields. Paul and Babe's appetites had become too big, and so had they. One day they decided it was time to follow their stomachs and find their pancake fortune out in the great big world. So Paul hugged his mom and promised to write, and he and Babe took off into the deep, dark forest. Oh my goodness, and look how the illustration, it's like they're walking towards the forest. It gets darker and darker and darker as they walk down the path. Soon, Paul's and Babe's heads were in the clouds, and their stomachs were rumbling like hungry bears. So much so, they barely heard the man who was calling to them. We've got a big problem down on the Syrup River, he yelled. I need a couple of guys with big appetites to come help out. Paul bent down and looked him straight in the eye. Do you have pancakes? The man laughed. We got more pancakes than even you can eat, or my name ain't Brimstone Bill, he said. We will see about that, Paul replied. Oh, they're going to go help by eating pancakes? When they got to the river, it was a mess. And look, even the word mess is written like a mess. A truck had rolled over and dumped its load of flour into the river, whipping up a sizable amount of batter, which had caused a log jam. Batter is the stuff you make pancakes out of with, right? So all the flour is mixing up with the water and jamming up the river. The hot summer sun soon had that batter sizzling up into more pancakes than Paul and Babe had ever seen. Their dream had come true. They put on their best eating hats and went to it. They ate and ate and ate pancakes until oh look, so those fun hats from the back, they call those their eating hats. So they're gobbling up pancakes, but what's going to happen? They ate them until Paul's shirt buttons popped off. When every last pancake had been eaten, the log swept down the river without a problem. Bill could not believe his eyes. And look, the word eyes has eyes in it. Why don't you and Babe come work for me, logging the land? I'll pay you as many pancakes as you can eat. Paul and Babe enthusiastically agreed, so they're going to go work for Brimstone Bill. Up and down the country, Paul and Babe tromped and stomped with Bill, from Wisconsin to California. So those are different states all across the whole United States. Up the Little Garlic River and down the Onion, through Tall Wolf Country, and across the Beartooth Plateau. Paul and Babe helped log the land. Up in the land of lakes near Minnesota, it got so cold that all Paul's words froze before they could make a sound. They say you can still hear his voice in the forests there today as they thaw out. Okay, and hear those frozen words: cold, flapjacks, freezing, more syrup, jack, timber, Babe. Out west, Paul and Babe tried to level, that is, make flat the ground by filling valleys with pancake batter. When the sun came up, the ground grew hot and started to cook. Up popped a whole mountain range right in front of them. The mountains used to be bigger, but Paul and Babe were hungry and snacked on some of them. Because of their uneven appearance, folks called them the Rocky Mountains. Oh, there they are, eating some of the mountains, the Pancake Mountains down. Down along the Colorado River, a stray pancake got picked up by a strong wind, and Babe took after it. Paul tried to hold him back. He dug his heels into the ground. When Babe finally caught the pancake, he and Paul had dug up a huge swath of dirt that is now called the Grand Canyon. So it's saying that just by his feet dragging in the ground, that made the Grand Canyon. But one day, Babe's bright blue glow began to fade. He was feeling sick. He just lay there like a big blue ox berry. Paul was worried and not feeling so good himself. Bill called the doctor to come and examine them both. The doctor said, "You seem to have been eating too many pancakes." Uh-oh. "Too many pancakes?" Paul exclaimed. "That's impossible. There's no such thing as too many pancakes." The doctor explained to Paul and Babe that they needed to balance their diet and eat different foods, or they would both become even more ill. Paul figured they had better do what the doctor said, but where could they find enough good food for them both? Paul thought for a moment. Where? Then it hit him. Home! Paul and Babe said their goodbyes to Bill. When they got back home, Paul's mom was mighty glad to see them. And sure enough, there was plenty of healthy food for them both. Soon Babe turned bright blue again. "See, your mom is always right," Paul's mom said proudly. So they went back home to get some fruits and vegetables. Oh, there's some nice carrots for Babe. From that day forward, they stayed in town, growing Bunyan-sized veggies and helping the townspeople and always listening to what Mom said. And of course, eating a heap of fruit and vegetables. Wow, so somehow they managed to grow giant fruits and veg. And that is how Paul Bunyan and his best friend changed the American landscape and became the greatest lumberjacks ever. And they never ate any fluffy, delicious pancakes ever again. Do you believe that they never ate any more pancakes? Well, every now and then they might sneak one or two. Just don't tell Mom. Okay, so that was Paul Bunyan and Babe's pancake adventure. And since I got to do something at the end, I'm going to stop and think about how they changed the American landscape. Remember, we said landscape is what the land looks like. Is it flat? Is it hilly? Does it have mountains? Does it have rivers? And in the book, it talked about different places in the United States that they said that Paul and his ox changed the landscape through their actions, through what they did, right? So it talked about how they made the Rocky Mountains with pancake batter, and then they ate some off the top, so they were rocky mountains. They weren't flat and smooth. It talked about how they made the Grand Canyon when Paul's heels were dug into the land and made kind of a trench, right? And in the end, it talked about how they were the greatest lumberjacks ever. And a lumberjack is somebody who works with trees, cutting down trees, right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed our read aloud this afternoon, and I hope you're starting to think about the places across the West that Paul Bunyan and also Johnny Appleseed were said to have visited and how they changed the American landscape. And we're going to talk more about that as we move on. Anyway, I hope you have a good afternoon. Don't forget to keep washing your hands, cover your coughs and sneezes, do some reading, do some writing, help your family around the house, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.